virus recursion is one of the reasons why noise is so strong nowadays. So while people try to splash for clone chips and scavengers to make more of their viruses, I'm going a little off the wall today. I'm trying test runs in place of clone chips. Now, test runs are more expensive to play, cost more influence, and are not instant speed like clone chips. However, they offer a huge advantage. They give you a lot more early game power, which is very important, and it performs recursion more effectively than clone chips because you can actually use one test run to rescue one virus from a heap and install it twice. So it doubles the mill power, and I really like that. So let's get down to my opening hand. It's pretty good. There are no influence pips on my opening hand, but it's still fantastic because it has all the setup pieces. Scheherazade and Grimoire are pieces that you rather see earlier than later. And while there's no wild side for draw, there is the inject, which could very well draw me my Aesops and wild side that I want to see. Imp is a very, very important component against this matchup, Tennin Institute. You can be almost certain that they're running Tricks of Light, so I definitely want to start imping his Tricks of Light away. I immediately install the imp on the Scheherazade and destroy his hedge fund. Yeah, I think he needs economy, and I'm making sure he doesn't get it. Then my next access, I see a Trick of Light. Well, unfortunate. I wish I could mill the Trick of Light instead. But at least now I know that the Trick of Light is in his HQ. If he leaves HQ vulnerable, I can attack his Trick of Light. Alright, in his next turn, he completely fortifies R&D with what seems to be a Caprice and some sort of ice. I draw into Aesop's Pawn Shop. Then I attempt to run on HQ to snipe his Trick of Light, but came up short. I attempt to run R&D, again coming up short because Ice Wall, and then I try for Archives because there is one card that I milled with the Imp, and sure enough, it was an agenda, a Brain Trust. That's fantastic. Yes, it's very unfortunate because had I ran R&D before installing the Imp, I could have milled the Trick of Light instead. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a misplay on my part. Alright, but for now, I still prevent him from getting any advancement tokens on Ice Wall. In the meantime, I continue drawing up. I hope to see the wild side soon. I find a Data Sucker, and that means another agenda for me. My Data Sucker hit the spot. It hit the Medical Breakthrough. So that's great. I'm on 4 points. He must be scared stiff right now. And yeah, 2 mills for 2 agendas. That's very, very good. And I'm starting to charge up my Data Sucker, which is very important against Ice Walls. I could potentially destroy a loaded Ice Wall by parasiting it and then Data Sucking it down. In the meantime, he makes a crucial mistake. Instead of icing up Archives, he chooses to play Jackson Howard. This allows me to run Archives again next turn, which could be his downfall if I mill another agenda. Lucky for him, I don't draw into a cheap virus this turn, so I'm not able to mill cards. All I can do is to run Archives for a Sucker token and to force out his first Jackson Howard. It's very important to keep track of how many Jackson Howards have left play as when you're playing as Noise. So right now I'm in a very good position. I have helped his game state a little because I did steal a Medical Breakthrough. This means that he has 5 3-2 agendas in his deck. 2 Brain Trusts, 2 Medical Breakthroughs, and a Philotic. I decide to pawn my Imp because I need the credits to run through R&D because I know there's a Caprice guarding it, and hopefully I can win the side game and trash Caprice. I wanted this to be a surprise, so I ran on my second click. I have 2 more clicks left to run R&D. Running is cheap. The only question is, can I win the side game? The first game I failed, 0 versus 1. The second game I tried 1 and failed, 1 versus 0. On my last run, I went for 0 again, and I failed. He bid. He always bid the least amount that was needed to keep me out of the server. So 3 side games, all 3 failed. I am very sad. That is how annoying Caprice can be. But, well, hopefully I can find a way around it. It's particularly annoying in Tennin compared to RP. As I said, there are only 3 servers which are vulnerable. And thankfully I'm playing Noise as opposed to some big rig shaper. Because if my deck has no way to pressure Archives, then I only have 2 routes of entry, HQ and R&D. This deck has 3 routes of entry. R&D HQ and archives through noise mill. I just hope that he doesn't play cerebral static, otherwise I could be locked out for a very long time. Meanwhile, I continue drawing, I find my Crypsis, but I am completely out of credits to play it. That is a huge pity. I haven't been drawing to my cyber feeders, and that has been hurting me quite a bit. In the meantime, he solidifies his economy. Celebrity Gift into Restructure is always a great combo. Very nicely played in Jinteki. Alright, I look at my heap. I have 3 Deja Vus. My hand is completely flooded with Deja Vus, but I can't use it because I don't have a single cache in my archives or heap. I attempt to make one last desperation run on the Icewall server, knowing that if this fails, I probably won't ever get in again. And I don't. I expected him to bid 2, but he bid 0. He always manages to get the lowest bid possible while still managing to end my run. Very annoying. The worst thing is that, yes, as time progresses, his Icewall is just getting bigger and bigger, and that is a bigger and bigger problem for me because it gets harder and harder to get through the Icewall server. So it's trashing Caprice is becoming something out of the question right now. Especially given my credit pool. I spent so many credits on side games that I don't have time to build up my rig. All I have is a Corroder and a couple of sucker tokens. I draw in the Parasite, but it's way too late. Had that Parasite appear earlier, I could have parasited the Icewall down, but now I don't have enough sucker tokens for that, so they all go into the heap. I can always retrieve it with Deja Vu later. And I made a very dangerous choice. I trashed the Mimic, the one Mimic in my deck. Again, I can get it back with Deja Vu, but if I slam into a Komainu, I lose all my Deja Vus, the Mimic's not coming back. Very dangerous play. But given that this is Tennin, and there are so few routes of entry, right now I'm just playing passively. He scores the 3-2 Medical Breakthrough. Worst news for me. If he hits the 2-2 Medical Breakthrough, he gets 2 free points. Free. Really free points. Fast advance from hand, so that's very, very scary. And my worst nightmare came true. I drew 2 test runs which I couldn't use. I decided to test run in my stack for a cache because I so badly needed the cache. I've been struggling with money throughout this entire early game, so when the opportunity presented itself for me to fish out some money from my stack, I did it without hesitation. This is something clone chip cannot buy you. If I draw into a clone chip and I need money, the clone chip can't buy me money unless I have a cache in my heap. Here, I'm able to get the cache, test run it, unload the money, and end my turn with the cache on top of my stack. So for my next turn, the moment I draw up, I'll find the cache. I just need to click for a credit and I can install it again. I will not benefit from Aesop's pawn shop for the first cache, for the test run cache, because it returned to my stack. But once I draw it and install it, Aesop's can then pawn it the following turn rather. So this is the power of test run. Even though it cost me 3 credits to play the test run, which is offset by the unloading of the first cache, the main benefit is that without having to draw any additional cards, I now have a cache in my heap. Next turn, as I said, I will play the cache from the top of my stack, and then the turn after, it will go into my heap thanks to Aesop's, and my Deja Vus are live. I can Deja Vu for cache and imp, I can Deja Vu for cache and parasite. In any case, I'm going to get a lot of money. Each cache is worth 7 credits. I have Charizard out. So you can tell that for the next few turns, I'm looking to bunker down and get some money. Hopefully, during that period of time, he won't be advancing too many agendas. I can only hope that my virus milling, notice that this is the second time I'm installing this very cache. The first time I test ran it, he milled 1 card. I install it from my hand this turn, he mills another card. Now I decide to test run for another cache. He mills another card. So he's getting milled a lot. I hope I'm hitting all his tricks of light so he cannot fast advance. This should really limit his power. And because I use 1 test run, the test run cache goes back to the top of my stack. So you can see that from his side of the board, it is becoming very, very clear that he is going to lose a lot of cards from R&D. They're just going to bleed out because I'm just recurring caches like no tomorrow. This test run is providing me so many cache installs. It's not even funny. A single clone chip can only bring 1 cache back. Every time I use a test run for a cache, he has to leak 2 cards from R&D. That is very powerful. Watch what I'm going to do this turn. I draw 2 cards. Of course, I know that there's a cache on top of my stack. So I install the daily cast and the cache. He mills 1 card. How powerful is that? I can't stress it enough. And I still have 3 deja vus in my hand, ready to recur those caches anytime. This is very, very annoying for him. And I'm not even using wild sight. This is the whole power of test run. You don't need wild sight. Wild sight is nice to have, but it's not compulsory. The moment you're set up, you just keep recurring everything with deja vus. Okay, now I finally draw my wild sight, but with only 18 cards left in my heap, and my main breaker, Crypsis, is already on the table, I do not need wild sight. Instead, I'll just use deja vu to get whatever I need back. Imp. Imp is what I need. I need to make sure that whenever I see a trick of light, it gets trashed. So, because I spent these few turns recurring caches, he has managed to get his Ice Wall to 5 strength. Bad idea, because I could be running David. He managed to get an Outer Ice on HQ to 1 strength, and most importantly, he has assembled 5 upgrades on the 3 central servers. That is pretty daunting. You have to figure that those extra upgrades that are not Caprice Nices are Chrysium Grids. That makes a lot of sense, huh? Chrysium Grid. Yeah, so he will still be able to place advancement tokens, even if I make successful runs. I need to trash a Chrysium Grid, and that's why I need Imp for. I'm not going to pay 5 credits for a Chrysium Grid. So, it's time to attack. One big trap that most noise players fall into is playing too passively. I cannot just keep installing viruses. At some point, I need to start milling him. Start applying central pressure. And this is exactly what I'm doing now. Force him to rest his ice, reduce his credits, and show his hand. Show what kind of upgrades he has. Here he makes a mistake. He meant to rest the Caprice Nice on HQ. But he ended up double-clicking the Will of the Wisp instead. Now they both cannot fire at the same time. Caprice fires first, and it fails. So Will of the Wisp doesn't get to fire, and he takes back his Will of the Wisp res. So no harm done there. The only problem is he leaked information. So now I know he's not running Chrysium Grid, he's running Will of the Wisp. So I need to be careful for that. But it's okay. I'm not worried about Will of the Wisp at all. And you'll see why later. Next, I run R&D. This is my strategy. If you can't beat Caprice Nice, force her to destroy herself. I ran HQ and force him to trash the R&D Caprice so that R&D is now vulnerable. So when he stopped me from getting through HQ, I now run through R&D, I get free access because Caprice is no longer guarding it. This is what you should do against a very annoying player who relies on Caprice to keep the server safe. He does fire the Will of the Wisp, the other upgrade R&D, and buries my Crypsis. I don't care. He picked the wrong program to trash because I have a deja vu and I'm getting my Crypsis back from my heap. I do have 1 Crypsis down there. So, yeah, no worries at all. In fact, I'm not sure if he should kill the Corroder instead. Corroder is much harder to pull out for me than the Crypsis. So, I retrieve the Crypsis and a cache. I'm running low on credits because I broke through the Lotus Field and the Shinobi. So now it's time to unload my cache. He mills 1 card. He is down to 7 cards in R&D. I still have 18 cards in my stack. So decking him becomes a very real possibility at this point. And yes, I'm very familiar with playing Tennin Institute myself. I know that they are so reliant on finding the tricks of light. If they get decked by noise, it's very easy to get decked by noise because if too many tricks of light get noise milled, they cannot win the game unless they score from a remote. And he doesn't have enough ice, enough protection to secure a remote, not with Crypsis available on my side. Until now, I've drawn a lot of cards from my deck. I've seen all my test runs, a couple of caches, etc., all my deja vus. I haven't seen a single Cyber Feeder. If I have Cyber Feeders, my life would be so much easier. I would be gaining so many credits and using Crypsis would be cheaper. But, well, not a single Cyber Feeder out of 3. I run 3 of them. I don't see a single one. Alright, another thing I didn't really talk about is his Shinobi. Very, very interesting choice to use Shinobi as an ice in Tennin Institute. it kind of works because you have clone retirement. He's running the exact same agenda suite as me, as far as I can tell, to get rid of the bad part. So Shinobi at this point just becomes a very taxing piece of ice, which is great. Great for him, not good, so good for me. But I'm still not a very big fan of it. It does cost quite a bit to rest. So I've used up my last Deja Vu on caches, 2 caches. So right now, the servers are very taxing, and I don't have a medium out. So I'm now trying to win by decking him. This is not always the intention with my deck. I know I run test runs and 3 Deja Vus, but only in certain games does it work out, especially in non-wrong games, and this is one of them. So now I'm aiming to deck him. We'll see how that works. He has 3 cards left in R&D. And I have a cache ready to go and a Crypsis ready to go. That will mill 2 cards. He could be in a lot of trouble. Yep. And I definitely have the potential to install them both next turn. And I still have 4 clicks to play around with. So during his turn, he installs a remote, fortifies it with 1 piece of ice. What does he do for his last click? He makes a terrible move. He draws a card. He's down to 2 cards in R&D. I can mill both cards and win the game. And that's exactly what I do. There isn't even a need to try to contest the remote, because it could be a waste of my time. It could just be a Jackson. Then I would waste my time, waste my Crypsis tokens, etc. I don't even need to contest the remote, because I'm just going to assume it's a Jackson and run his archives. If it is not a Jackson, he has already lost the game because he is dead. If it is a Jackson, he can still salvage the game by shuffling cards with Jackson and keeping me out of archives. So at this point, he has to think of his next move. But I'll just tell you what happens. He saw all the trash in the archives and realized that he couldn't win. I'm not sure whether that card in the remote was a Jackson or it was an agenda. I'm guessing it was an agenda. No difference to me. I would have won in any case. So because, yeah, there were too many agendas in archives by that point. So that was the game. This very game, looking at the way it played out, is the one reason why I include Cerebrostatic in my Tennin Institute deck. I can't stress enough how important it is to patch up these holes in your deck. Tennin is so vulnerable to noise mill because you are relying on 3 cards in your 49 card deck for your game win condition. Those 3 cards called Trick of Light. If you get bad luck on your mills, or if you take too long to find all your Tricks of Light, noise can and will deck you before you even have a chance to fast advance your agendas. So you must patch these holes up, and you have an infection solution in the form of that current, so use it. Him not having his current, maybe it was trash from noise mill, maybe he couldn't find it, or maybe he just doesn't even play it, but knowing the metagame now, it has to be done. There's no question. Tennin wants to get to the late game because then they'll see all the Tricks of Light, and Noise has all the tricks in the bag to deal with that. And yes, I had a very favorable matchup this game. Noise is so good against Tennin, and I definitely made him pay for attempting to fool me with Caprice games. He won 4 Caprice side games out of 4, and I still managed to win the game. He could keep me out of his servers, but he couldn't keep me from my alternate win condition. So thanks for watching, and happy net running. Goodbye.